Cheap yet patriotic, Russian cinema is still alive. The film is made with love, understanding of the Russian soul, Russian culture and spirit. Those are one of the many raving reviews on Russian film review website Kinopoisk. A lot of people seem to agree that By the Will of the Pike is the reflection of current Russian society. Hi there, Faye here. And today we're diving headfirst into the fever dream that is Russian cinema. If you thought that propaganda was a thing of the past, think again. The film is based on an old Russian tale, but it has little to do with it. It's just another cog in the Russian propaganda machine. This movie is backed by a Russian cinema fund, which, surprise, surprise, is just a corrupt scheme for laundering taxpayer money. And this film is basically a money laundering operation filled with propaganda. But before we begin, hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos from me. The story of By the Will of the Pike is basically a story about Russia's fixation with its past. Whether it's Soviet or Imperial era, it's about the sense of lost greatness. The aim, you might ask? Stir up some good old-fashioned national pride or exploit fears of lingering Soviet collapse. The 90s were one of the worst times for Russia. But then Putin came to power.
Владимир Владимирович, успехов и удачи. Россияне вас помнят.
Things started to get better for the common Russian. That's why Putin is so well liked. Putin's regime has mastered the art of existential dread, keeping the average Russian between existential dread and national pride. And who is the knight in shining armor in all of this? You guessed it, none other than Mr. Putin and his band of merry oligarchs. So the original tale in a nutshell, there is this lazy dude who lives in a village and one day he finds a magic fish who grants him wishes. First he wishes for silly things, but then he wishes for wisdom, becomes the Tsar and lives happily ever after. There's nothing anti-Western about the original tale. It's basically about a lazy dude who grows up and becomes an adult. As you can imagine, that's not what happened in the movie. Our hero's first wish is not to cancel slavery, heal the sick, or bring democracy to Russia. No, he wishes to turn his furnace into the car. That's right, folks, a furnace-car hybrid. Because in Russia, apparently, you don't dream about freedom. You dream about hitting the road in your wood-burning Tesla. Imagine a cop's face when he hears, "Sorry officer, a magical fish made me do it." And then there is this European ambassador in the film who is depicted as weak and gay, a very popular motif in Russian propaganda. Putin wants us to think that Russian men are the last bastions of masculinity in Europe. The irony is that those statements usually come from men who look like constantly drunk bowling balls. There is a scene where the English ambassador shows like a musical instrument, only later to be revealed that it's powered by a slave sitting inside. It's not an actual technology. And who plays this slave? An Azerbaijani actor, because why not use someone from a country that Russia once colonized? The hypocrisy is off the charts. The film wants to shame English imperialism while conveniently forgetting about Russia's own colonial history.
Yes, I understand.
The film is a prime example of how Russian media takes every opportunity to dunk on the West while praising its own self-sufficiency, a narrative that's only grown louder after the Western sanctions and the 2014 invasion of Crimea. They're trying to convince the world and themselves that their tech is on par with the Western tech and might even surpass it. Never mind that most of it is just rebranded Chinese imports. And it's not some new idea either, it's straight out of 19th century Germany's playbook, where this concept of a special path or Sonderweg was used to justify Germany's break from the rest of Europe. German state solidified very late and they needed to separate themselves somehow from the other Western powers. They also were industrializing very quickly, so there was a need to explain everything in terms of progress and regress, or new and old. And of course, the new was Germany and the old were the West, England and France. Back then, Germany didn't think of itself as the West, but as a new entity that would come after the West would inevitably fall. Similar processes were happening in Russia at the time, so they just straight up copied those ideas. The difference? After the Second World War, Germany realized that those ideas led to some pretty nasty things, but Russia is still clinging to them.
Deutschland, Dummkopf, narzisstischen! Eins, Deutschland!
And this anti-Western vibe is everywhere in the Russian media, so much so that the average Russian doesn't even notice it anymore. And that's insane. And of course, here the gay English ambassador is crying because his ass got kicked.
Не знаю, конечно, как там в ваших зарубежных демократиях, а мы все-таки привыкли простому гражданину давать шанс.
Translation: we'll let you throw your life away in some pointless war. At some point, our hero is sent to fetch some trinkets for the Tsar, all in a bid to win over a princess he seems to want to impregnate. But surprise, surprise, she's not into his Russian charms. She has her eye on a colorful gay Englishman. Yes, the main villain in the film, who is a woman, surprise, has her eyes on an English penis, the gay English womanly penis. True story, the actor who's playing a gay Englishman in this film, there was a film where he was playing an actual human-sized penis. But don't fret, eventually the princess demotes the English ambassador to a court dishwasher, because apparently that's what happens to men who aren't manly enough. Is this film's target audience 50s husbands? There is the man's job, and then there is the woman's job, which can also be done by gays. Now go to the kitchen and make me some of that Kelly ham jello salad, which I googled was the most popular dish in the 50s. Is it just me, or that Englishman's costumes just slap? His shirts and jackets look so good. He's a fashion icon. If you pay more attention, you'll realize that there is a lot of self-deprecation in this film. Most Russians are dressed in shitty clothes, or just look bad or have no manners. Do you know what is the most manly garment according to Russian propaganda? A wife beater. And none of that anti-Western propaganda was in the original tale. It was just all tacked on by the creators. And it just goes to show how deep Putin's propaganda machine is embedded into every facet of Russian culture. In today's video, we took a deep dive into the homophobic and chauvinistic world of Russian propaganda through the lens of By the Will of the Pike. It highlights the issues in Russian society and how perverse the Putin's regime actually is. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel to stay updated on my latest videos. You can also support me through Patreon, which you'll find by the link in the description.